Well, we're here with Sergeant Glenn Moshier. I'm Chris Popper from WDEA, and we've taken over the chief's office.
We have. Hopefully he won't mind.
Yeah, it's all right. He's not here. So,
Right.
you know, you leave, and this all goes to the fact in our last conversation with the chief that he said he needed a bigger work area and an interview room. So this proof is in the pudding right here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we're continuing our conversation with a cop with the Ellsworth Police Department, and Glenn, one of your roles is, I guess, I know that you work closely with Ellsworth High School in terms of the every 15-minute, production. I mean, it really is a huge production, and that alternates every other year, and this year being an off year, but. The work that the Ellsworth Police Department does in terms of trying to minimize people who are abusing alcohol, whether they're underage or driving while under the influence, is ongoing.
That's correct. Yeah, we have a great partnership with both the Bureau of Highway Safety, Maine Bureau of Highway Safety, as well as the Healthy Acadia. And Healthy Acadia has been instrumental in providing money for us to do extra details and go out and enforce underage drinking laws. They've also provided us with the opportunity to have officers go into the schools and do educational-based programs. And so we've been able to keep up the the pressure that we apply through those enforcement efforts to combat underage drinking and the dangers that are affiliated with underage drinking, the drunk driving, the alcohol poisoning type of events, and risky behavior that teens engage in when they've consumed alcohol. And with graduation coming up, and we just got through the prom season, thankfully we got through without any significant events, tragic events, and we have graduations coming up throughout the county. And of course our enforcement efforts will be here in Ellsworth for the Ellsworth Police Department, but many of us are also members of a countywide task force through funding through Healthy Acadia, which will be involved in those enforcements throughout the county as well as in Ellsworth. All
right, let's talk about graduation first. The best thing that everyone can do is to take part in Project Graduation.
Oh, absolutely. We certainly encourage and love to see the kids participate in the Project Graduation, which is obviously alcohol-free. But it's very important. That whole weekend is there's a lot of celebrations. It's a time for celebration for a lot of families in the area, and it's important for us to get the word out to parents that may be contemplating furnishing some sort of party, hosting a party where alcohol is involved, that's illegal, and to make sure that that they understand the ramifications that they can face for that type of event, for hosting that type of event. So we try to get that word out to the folks and to the citizens of Ellsworth and Hancock County alike. We also want to make sure that the whole weekend is and getting on into the summer season that it's safe, and that the kids know that we're out there in force, and we're trying to prevent them from access to alcohol through monitoring the stores that retail it, as well as trying to locate when there are party events going on and breaking those type of things up. Our primary goal obviously is to stop it before it happens, but occasionally we get there after the fact, and we have to deal with the consequences. And so yeah, we definitely we have a lot of good activities planned, and a lot of money that's available to us for that specific enforcement.
If you're under 21, you blow .01, you're guilty of operating under the influence.
That's correct. There's a zero tolerance for anyone under 21. And I actually, in preparation for our discussion here, I did a little research and got some national statistics on underage drinking, on OUI, operating under the influence. Yeah. And just quickly from NHTSA, which is a national database, in 2013, 10,076 people were killed in alcohol-impaired crashes throughout the entire country. And out of those 10,000 people, roughly 50% were operators that were above a .08 involved in those fatal crashes were between the ages of 16 and 24.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a pretty, you know, pretty staggering number to think that, you know, 50% of the 10,000 fatal crashes involving alcohol, you know, fell into this age bracket of people between the ages of 16 and 24. And, you know, and that's something that we take very serious as far as the, you know, underage component, but also just in general as far as, you know, all alcohol-related vehicle operating.
It always seems that in the early summer months, we read about the underage task force making a couple busts.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably you and I are a little bit different. I understand the difficulty it is trying to wait to be probably 21 and drink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it changed, the law changed when thankfully, I guess, when I was 18, I was able to drink, and I think it changed back in, I think it was 78 or so, and then I was grandfathered to be 20, so I didn't have to wait till I was 21. The worst thing you can do, though, is if the underage task force comes, is to run.
Yeah.
I mean, because but we see that happening, and that's probably the first thing to do. People think is, oh my gosh, if I flee, they're not going to find me.
Right.
Listen, when you guys go in to stop a party like that, there's more than one police officer.
Oh, absolutely.
There's generally 4 to 6 police officers, plus cruisers. And look, this is a small community. Everybody knows who's there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys,
typically.
I mean, you guys are in the schools. You know, I mean, this isn't like Boston where we don't know who's involved. You know who's involved, and all that happens when you run is you're gonna rack up charges.
Typically, you know, we very seldom have people that, you know, run and get away. Of course, here in Ellsworth, we have the luxury of having a K9 unit available, which can track individuals. You know, but the important thing about the running aspect, even more so than
They don't want you to get into a car, for God's sake.
Right, is the concept that it continues the idea that they involve in this, you know, risky behavior due to the alcohol impairment. And you know, when you're running off through the woods, heaven forbid, you know, in a situation where you're at a lake, or, you know, there's unknown dangers, you know, out there in the woods, and it's dark, and you're not prepared, certainly, and you know, and again, you know, bad things can happen for something that, you know, you shouldn't have been doing in the first place.
It's relatively minor, but it's gonna escalate quickly.
It could. It
Right.
could be. It could something that's, you know, something that, yeah, is. Are you going to get in trouble? Absolutely.
Yes.
Are there going to be ramifications? You know, without question. But the safety factor is, you know, is important that they try to. And again, the impairment will impact that. But keep in mind that, you know, their safety is more important than getting away. You know, trying to get away, because
Right.
the likelihood is that it's not going to happen.
Right. Well, and I guess people are going to watch this. Hopefully, you're not drinking while you're watching this. But I mean, what's a relatively minor offense, when you start going resisting arrest or getting behind the wheel and you've had alcohol, it just multiplies.
Absolutely. For example, for a person who's 18 to 20, alcohol offense, if you're caught under the influence or you're caught with alcohol, it's a civil infraction. So it's no jail time. You go to court, you get a fine, you get assessed a fine. For a juvenile, it's a little bit more serious because it is actually a crime for those individuals. not likely to see jail time, obviously, but but it is something that would be on a criminal record for a juvenile. But again, you're looking at a fine.
Right.
So is it worth risking your life, or certainly taking it beyond the to the next step where you get into a car, and operate a motor vehicle, and then you're dealing with something that's a lot more serious. It's a crime for everybody involved, and then the risk factor is far too great
Right.
to take that
Okay.
take that risk.
You've got some grants to run some OUI details.
We do.
And, I mean, we've seen some police departments that announce when they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You typically don't do that.
Well, do
you?
We do to an extent. When we do safety checkpoints, we will put information out either through web-based type of information, social media, and generally we will announce in the newspaper that that we have this grant funding and that we are planning roadblocks or safety checkpoints throughout the course of the summer. We typically won't go in and until the day or a couple days prior to give specific locations of where we're going to be doing safety checkpoints, and that's not really, it's typically not, it's never in an effort to trick anybody or to fool anybody or surprise anybody. It's merely just a matter of we don't typically know until the day of, or hours
make sure
before,
you've got enough police officers that are available,
where and when it's
nothing
going
else
to
is
happen.
happening.
Exactly. Yeah, we staffing issues are always a concern for all law enforcement in this area, and we don't typically know until the morning that it's going to take place of where and when we're going to actually be doing a safety checkpoint. But we try to coordinate them with things like holidays. Holidays are important to us. Events like graduation and other things. Concerts in Bangor have been a motivator for us. We've had we've seen an influx in people driving back down the the 1A corridor from the concerts that have been that are impaired. And
Yeah,
have
the
been
country
drinking.
concerts, and I will tell you, because I generally have to go represent the radio station at the concerts. They're great people watching, and exactly. If you're going to go to a concert and you're going to have too much to drink, for God's sake, stay in Bangor.
Absolutely.
Don't drive home.
Get a designated driver, because we know when the concerts are. We target the specific concerts that are more likely than not.
They're
to have
country
the
concerts,
alcohol.
exactly.
And you're very likely over the course of the summer to run into a roadblock, and it could be as far out as the McGowan's Hill area on Route 1A, or it could be right here on High Street, depending on the manpower that we have available to us. And I know that we're not the only agency in the area. I know the state police, Troop J, have funding, and they're also aware of those type of events and plan their safety checkpoints around those things.
And again, when you do these, the whole idea is not to nab people. I mean, and it's more of a look. We want you to be aware. We're out here doing our job, and you as the public have the responsibility to drive properly, to not drink and drive, to make sure you're wearing your seatbelt, not to text and drive. I mean, it's a two-way street, and it's not just the police officers here looking to nab people.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes back to the statistic that I gave earlier. 10,076 people were killed in alcohol-related motor vehicle accidents, and I think the safety checkpoints, they think they serve as a deterrent, and which is part of the reason why we do make them public and let people know that we're going to be out there and the grant, and notifying people that, hey, we have all this grant money and we are stepping up enforcement. Hopefully acts as a deterrent and encourages people to use designated drivers. But yeah, I mean, we absolutely. I mean, if we could prevent someone from getting behind the wheel, it's much more favorable than arresting somebody who's been behind the wheel.
I had never seen or any of the every 15 minutes videos or the program up until last year when I was able to take part in it. It is probably the most powerful thing that you can see, you can watch. I mean, to have these high school seniors, for the most part, be taken out by the Grim Reaper and have them read the death notification to the class. At the same time, police officers are going out and notifying the parents that their child has died. And then they're taken away. And the child actually writes a letter to the parent that night. And I mean, to see, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. To see that when everybody is reunited the following day, even though everybody knows it's just pretend.
Yeah.
I mean, people are crying, parents are crying, kids are crying. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, one of the hardest things you have to do is probably for real go out and notify someone that a parent that their child's passed away for whatever reason.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, there aren't too many people in law enforcement that haven't had, you know, unfortunately haven't had to make that announcement to a parent. And as a parent myself, that's something that thankfully my kids are a few years away from driving, but that's something that you know, that I certainly hope I never have to experience on the other end. But I mean, I've done it.
As a parent, I will tell you that the worst thing that can ever happen is for the phone to ring between midnight and 4 in the morning. There's anything that ever good comes out when the phone rings between midnight and 4 in the morning.
Absolutely. And you know, and I think, you know, you spoke to the sort of the reality of that program, and I have been on the real end of making those death notifications, and I'll tell you, it's no easier in real life than it is with that program, because that program has that level of validity to it, and that level of realism that you know, when the parents arrive on the scene at the high school to identify their son or daughter.
Oh my God, the wailing that happened last year, that wasn't acting.
Absolutely not. It's legitimate.
I mean, to see your child covered in glass, covered in fake blood, but it looks as realistic, and to see them in a body bag, I mean, my Lord, that's just, I mean, it's going to take years off your life.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and there's a lot of preparation done with the families and with the parents prior to the program, but there's no level of preparation that you could do that's going to prepare you for, you know, for what emotion you're going to have, because no matter how many times, and I've talked to many of the parents who've been involved, no matter how many times they've said to themselves, it's fake, it's just fake, it's just fake. When your child is laying there, you can't help but be overcome with that, you know, knowledge that this could really happen. Yeah. And you know, and it does happen all too often, and those emotions are real, and there's no way for them to control themselves, and it is a very powerful program, and it's something that I've certainly enjoyed being a part of, and being able to provide for our students. And you know, the one thing the way we look at the program is, if one student, you know, if even just one student is influenced by it and makes the decision not to get in a vehicle with someone that's been drinking, or not to drive themselves when they've been drinking, then all the preparation and all the meetings and all the scheduling and everything that goes into putting it on is well worth it.
I mean, it's a tremendous amount of effort. Both, I mean, you've got people that are, all the law enforcement are donating their time. You've got vehicles that are donated to simulate the crash, and I mean, the fire department comes out and they extricate the people, the students, from the cars, so that the vehicles are destroyed. the funeral, the undertakers are coming in, the funeral arrangers.
And they donate, all of their time and their facilities and their, the caskets and all of that is all donated on their part. County ambulance is involved, which is all donated time. The court system's involved, and
right.
The jail's involved. So and of course we all the students that are involved are taken away.
Well, it's
overnight.
really a whole day of class that they miss because, as you said, they're taken out and then it's involved, and then once it's over, they're removed and overnight somewhere.
Yeah, overnight, and then they don't have any electronics, and they can't communicate with anybody. And then it's not till the next day that they're for the funeral the next day, and actually until after the funeral where they're allowed to communicate and reunite with their families and friends. And yeah, so it is a huge undertaking. It takes a lot of volunteer hours, a lot of cooperation from a lot of different agencies. But and all of that is true, but ultimately the program couldn't exist, and although it's an Ellsworth Police sponsored program, it could never exist without the high school and the support that they give to the program and the effort that they put into the program. Hope High and Bev Homage are the two guidance counselors at the high school, and really without them the program would never come to fruition, because we can do so much, but they're there every day, and
right.
they're the ones who are pulling the kids in and getting the permission slips and getting the parents, and just without their efforts the program would never go off, because they're very extremely instrumental in making it happen.
Yeah, we'll put the video of every 15 minutes that was done last year below this video, so that way people can see that. And the HCTC video department,
they do
an
amazing
job.
Absolutely,
an amazing job in producing the video. The camera's yours. I mean, obviously we don't want people to drink and drive. We want you, if you're under 21, not to drink.
Absolutely.
What do you want to say?
Well, I think those are all extremely important points. We also, right now we're getting into the summer months, and speed also kills, and that's a big problem on our roadways, and something that we also have grant money to combat. And there's going to be a lot of activity in the 1A corridor and some of the high traffic areas in town, trying to slow people down. So that's something to look out for and pay attention to. And just another thing that I wanted to touch base on real briefly, which we don't have any current actual enforcement activity going on, but it certainly impacts our young people. And that's the whole concept of distracted driving, and I have some more stats involving that I just wanted to kind of bring up real quickly, and that in 2013, and these are nationwide stats, not just Maine specific, but in 2013 there were 2,910 fatal crashes that occurred on U.S. roadways involving distracted driving. And that
distracted driving includes texting, talking on your phone, changing the radio station, putting on makeup. I mean,
Absolutely.
You adjusting the mirror. I mean, and you see and you hear things. I mean, people shave, not that I shave, but people shaving while they're driving. I mean, they're in the cars, not so much here with long commutes, but people just get in your car and you're supposed to drive.
Yeah, you need to drive. You need to pay attention to your driving. And another stat that I have is 6 out of 10 teen crashes involve a distracted driver. And exactly what you said, some of the more common things that are distracting the drivers are people in the vehicle and conversations. I cannot tell you how many times I've pulled somebody over for speeding and they said, "Oh, I didn't even realize I was going that fast. We were talking." And it's like, well, you know, I'm glad that you're communicating, but the reality of it is you need to be paying attention to what you're doing when you're driving a vehicle. And then, of course, you have the use of a cell phone, which is huge. And that doesn't, you know, texting is a big one. But, you know, talking is just as distracting in many instances as texting. So, you know, that's a biggie. And
going through a drive-through and, you know,
eating,
and if you drop something, your first inclination is, oh my gosh, let's reach down and get what it is.
right.
And then you're not paying attention to the road.
Absolutely. And you know, those of us who have, you know, have years of experience driving, we have a little bit higher tolerance or ability to you know, make up for those momentary lapses of you know, paying attention. But the younger drivers with the, you know, little to no experience, boy, they just, that's when they fail. And you know, those momentary lapses of concentration from the roadway all too often end up in accidents, and whether it be a serious accident or just minor fender benders. And you know, and that's something that that, you know, people need to be smarter about, and they need to pay attention.
And I think the other thing too is we've got to realize that summer's here, and with it, more traffic on Route 1A and anywhere we're going. I mean, like I called you 15, I said, look, I'm going to be 15 minutes late because there was more traffic than I was expecting on Route 1A.
Absolutely.
And you've just got to allow that extra time now.
Yeah, we experienced it this weekend. I mean, there was a notable increase in traffic started last Wednesday and ran right straight through the weekend. And it's you know, there's no question that after Memorial Day that summer has landed. And you know, Monday through Wednesday, it's kind of back to normal. Somewhat,
right?
You know, through till the 4th of July. After the 4th of July, at least in our area here,
right,
it's you know, Monday through Sunday. It's wall to wall. You know, traffic is just brutal. So it's all absolutely all that more important that you know, that your attention be on the road in front of you. And not distracted by cell phones, eating, conversation, radio, grooming, you know, putting on your lipstick, or, you know, fixing your hair, those type of things.
Both those things that I'm able to avoid.
And yeah, I don't have an issue with those either. But those are all the type of things that you know, put you at risk and distract you from what you know, the task at hand, which is to operate the motor vehicle that you're driving safely. So. But you know, and just to kind of close and wrap things up, I know I mentioned them, but you know, I really can't thank the partners that, you know, that we have enough, because as we all know, funding is always critical, and you know, police officers don't work for free. Very often. We do occasionally, and we put in a lot of hours that sometimes we're not compensated for.
Right.
But you know, ultimately, you know, we're here doing a job, and we need to get paid to do our job. And through funding like the Bureau of Highway Safety, and certainly the underage drinking funding that we've received through Healthy Acadia has been instrumental in allowing us to get officers in here working overtime, that are dedicated and, you know, passionate about enforcing, you know, and keeping the road safe and keeping our young people safe. And without that, you know, without that funding, it would be, I wouldn't say that it wouldn't happen, because I firmly believe that we have people that are passionate and you know, and would do what they could, regardless of, you know, the funding. But certainly it makes it a lot easier to get people and get officers on board to come in and on their free, you know, their off time, which we don't have a lot of these days, especially, and put in the effort. So.
All right. That's Conversation with a Cop this week with Sergeant Moshier from the Ellsworth Police Department. Check out this video. Make sure you check out the conversation we had with Chief Coleman and all the other videos we have on the WDEA YouTube channel.